This is when it happens. Crypto feels right now like it's inevitably going to plunge off the face of a cliff, and everybody I see across crypto is calling for a Bitcoin and altcoin dump at any moment. And with war in the Middle East seemingly having no end in sight, as well as the media absorbing any hope of a recovery, it feels like any pump that could happen for crypto will instantaneously be sold off. But in my experience, it's times like this where we often start to see change. I'm going to show you that there are a lot of signals right now that tell us that not everything is quite as it seems, and it's not quite as obvious as people are trying to make out that it is. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's understand what's going on. Now guys, jumping across to this Bitcoin chart right now, you can see that the Bitcoin price as we speak is hanging on by a thread, currently sat $66,800 at this support line. And if you combine what's happening on the chart right now with what's being said across the media, it's obvious to see why so many people out there are anticipating that we're going to see much lower prices for Bitcoin and the altcoins, etc. And many people are telling us that we should be waiting until at least October before we're buying into the market once more. On top of that, looking into this chart pattern, you can see that this is currently a bear flag. And according to Claude, a bear flag has around 60 to 65% chance of breaking lower. So the probability, the media and everything seems to be in favor of the bears. It seems to be obvious what's about to happen next, because it happened before. We should be seeing this, right? We should be seeing Bitcoin pushing down to at least $50,000 or less. But in my experience, whenever something has got incredibly obvious, where everybody is in agreement with what's about to happen next, I have to be very cautious. And it's not only because of what I've seen on the charts, but what I've learned from other people over the years, like Joseph Granville, a legendary trader back in the day, who said, if it's obvious, it's obviously wrong. And Bob Farrell, who spent over 45 years at Merrill Lynch and became the chief market analyst. And he said, when all experts and forecasts agree, something else is going to happen. Because inevitably, what you're seeing on the chart right now is a battle between different people. But relying on just a few quotes and hoping that most of the people in the market think something different from what you think isn't enough. We've got to dive a little bit deeper into what we're seeing. Now, right now, one of the major components of why people are feeling so panicked and worried isn't just the fact that the market's been moving like this, or that we've been chopping around like this, but it is the situation in the Middle East, where the US and Israel have been at war with Iran for a few weeks now. And this is a particularly big deal because right now the Straits of Hormuz, where most of the world's oil passes through, have been closed. On top of that, you've then got added uncertainty of Donald Trump giving a speech with a huge number of contradictory statements. In one breath, he said that they completed their mission, that they'd been successful, that they destroyed all of the targets that they were seeking to destroy. In another breath, he then went on to say that he was going to spend another 2 to 3 weeks striking targets with everything that they had. What is there left to strike if you've already struck all the targets? He then went on to say that the US wasn't going to open the Straits of Hormuz and that they were going to leave, and it was down to the allies like the UK and France and whoever else to open the Straits of Hormuz themselves. But then he also said when the US were going to leave, the Straits would open by themselves, the oil price would go down and stocks would go up. All seemingly very confusing until you really analyze what he basically said and consider that this is a midterm year where Donald Trump needs to gain a lot of votes. Now, it just so happened over the last few days I've been watching this Vietnam War documentary on Netflix. And obviously while that war was far bigger and had enormous numbers of casualties, there's kind of similar things that I saw in some of the speeches and some of the way that the president was talking to the people and how the people were reacting throughout that war to what we are starting to see right now. This is clearly a very unpopular war, one that I believe many people in the US right now don't agree with. And at the start of the speech, you heard how successful the war had been. They'd already destroyed all of the targets they wanted to destroy. They'd already achieved their mission. So why in a later date would everybody out there be expecting escalation? That's what I'm reading across social media. Everybody is now expecting escalation. But how does the war escalate? Well, boots on the ground. Why would you not put boots on the ground? Well, because Iran is a very capable enemy, and it will lead to a lot of casualties. Casualties that would not be tolerated by, I'm sure, the majority of the United States. So my 2 cents is that was basically a speech to say that we've won and we need to kind of get out of here. And we need to kind of get out of here pretty quick. And eventually we will get out of here and the Straits will open. Why will the Straits open? Well, the Straits are closed right now because Iran knows that by closing the Straits, it puts a lot of pressure on the US from all of the different allies that the US has. Now, while the US is obviously a strong country and has a great military and all these other things, it does rely on various things from lots of other countries around the world. It needs people to invest in its treasuries. It needs lots of other things from other countries as well. So eventually when the US leave, the Strait probably will open. But it will be a very clear message to the US that if you ever come and do this again, we just close the Strait. And again, you cause yourself more problems than perhaps you gain from this situation. situation. But again, I'm just speculating. We don't understand what's happening in the media because ultimately we're not being shown the full picture, and we never will be. So it's difficult to identify exactly what's been happening. We don't know really what the targets were. We don't know really what they were trying to achieve over there. But there are people out there who do understand what's going on. And these people tend to be incredibly smart. They tend to work in very high-paying jobs, and they tend to work for companies that are willing to pay enormous salaries. So where do you think those people might work? I hear you cry. Well, yeah, you're right. They probably work. Lots of them will work in banks, and lots of them will work in institutions. And not only that, maybe they work in political positions, and political positions where they also have the ability to make trades and do different things. Therefore, there are different markets behind the scenes that will react based on what you're seeing from the media, but also what's going on behind the scenes, because people will be getting access to information. There will be trades that are happening via banks and things like that based off of what is most likely to happen next. So if you can identify what the smart money is doing right now, then you have a good clue about what we can expect to see happen for crypto. Now, it's important to note that these signals that are happening across the market are often outside of crypto rather than in crypto. Crypto itself, remarkably, over the last few months, has actually been doing relatively well, given how bad the market has been. And I think that's because of a few different reasons. Not only did the market get sold off and people got absolutely smashed on these pushes lower, which is why the short-term holders of Bitcoin make up for only around 3% of the total supply, something that often happens when the market is at lows, but even the long-term holders have begun to capitulate. But also because, as Jack Mallers says, I think Bitcoin is one of the most sensitive assets out there to what's happening around the world, okay? Whether that be with liquidity, whether that be with uncertainty, certainty, oil prices, unemployment, employment, you get it. And I think this happened very, very quickly on the idea that a war in Iran would become more and more likely. And this is why Bitcoin has been outperforming gold, stocks, and everything literally since back on the 4th of February. Now, admittedly, it's not been absolutely mind-blowing. And this to me says that this probably was more than likely the bottom for Bitcoin back on the 5th or 6th of February around $59,500. Now, that doesn't mean by any means that Bitcoin can't return back into this zone. It doesn't mean that maybe Bitcoin can't have a little dip under this zone, but it means that this is somewhere in and around a zone where we're likely to see a recovery coming from in and around this area. Now, why do I think that? Well, I think we've already seen some of the worst things happen for crypto that could happen. Oil prices surging, uncertainty in the Middle East. Nothing's happened on the Clarity Act. Donald Trump seemingly distancing himself from crypto. Sentiment in the market, horrendous, you name it. So, there is, however, one threat to crypto, and that would be if a recession was coming or if the market globally was about to collapse, like some people are starting to say that it will. But I think the global market is now starting to position itself for a recovery because I believe that they're anticipating that the war in the Middle East is nearly done. Where do we see this happening? Well, first of all, the US stock market, which has been falling since around the 28th of January, which is interestingly where Bitcoin basically began to have this very, very strong sell-off here. We can then see that the SPX bounced very, very strongly around 4.3% from back last Monday. Now, these are large cap stocks, not always so sensitive to risk, which is why we should also look at the Russell, which is the small cap stocks, which you can see again seem to have bounced very strongly here around 5.5%. But one of the clearest places to look for whether or not the banks are anticipating there being a major sell-off, major risk environments, is high yield growth corporate bonds versus low risk government bonds. Now, HYG is high yield growth corporate bonds. It means that you can buy bonds in companies that are not doing particularly well. Now, these come with higher rewards but higher risks. IEF is effectively the government bonds. If the markets look like they're about to tank and the wars are going to continue and everything's going to get worse, then you invest in government bonds. You don't invest in risky stuff. This is the HYG versus IEF, and you can see that we are right now, over the last month or so, growing higher. Now, 1.61%, it's not necessarily massive, but you can see that this is an uptrend that is continuing to rise. This is from 2020. And since 2020, obviously we had a bear market drop into around 2022. You can see we have various sort of spikes lower over time, but this is leading us to higher. This is anticipating that the globe is still in a bull market. It is not yet anticipated that it's going to be moving into a bear market. Why would banks and very smart money that have billions and billions of dollars and some of the smartest people in the world right now be more bullish on higher risk stuff than lower risk stuff? Well, because they see this. They see that the balance sheet right now, the US Federal Reserve, is growing. Yes, we don't have quantitative easing, but there is printing of money going on. Very soon, you're going to get a new chair in the Federal Reserve who is going to continue to print money. Eventually, you are going to see the Strait of Hormuz open, and then the oil price will come down. And whenever that happens, the green light is on to start printing money like crazy. And it's because everybody knows that the money printers have to be turned on this year because there is a huge amount of debt to roll over, that the ISM, or the manufacturing index, continues to go up and still sticks above 50. This is indicator of macro bullish conditions. Macro bullish conditions lead to bull markets for Bitcoin and altcoins. Now, obviously, this has been a very boring, very painful time, and it is feeling like we are never ever going to dig ourselves out of this. But it's felt like this before. If you've been in the market here, it felt like that. If you're in the market here, it felt like that. If you're in the market down in and around here, it felt like that. It felt like that here, okay? It feels painful. It feels like it will never, ever recover. And the more the feeling becomes more and more obvious that it's going to get worse and worse and worse, typically you tend to be somewhere around the point at which things change. Now, it seems everybody is waiting for the price to go to the same valuation. Now, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying that we can't return back down to where the lows were for Bitcoin before, which currently will be around 10%. That shouldn't really be a bother for us. Even if we were to dip a little bit under there, sweep liquidity, and then bounce back strongly, it still should be a very positive thing to see. But that's Bitcoin. Where does it leave us for altcoins? Well, again, the others, which is the altcoins versus Bitcoin, are still in this reversal pattern. The pattern that they've been in since basically back in June, where altcoins bottomed against Bitcoin. You can see on the weekly chart, they've been putting in these higher lows each and every time, looking very strong. Eventually, I think we break this zone, and inevitably, after breaking that zone, we begin to break this downtrend. Eventually, this downtrend will end, and you will end in a period of time where altcoins massively outperform Bitcoin. Now, that might not happen for a little bit of time, but in my opinion, all we've got right now is boredom. There's nothing to be particularly scared of. In my opinion, it's not a very scary time. It's just a boring one. And from there, we're going to see some more exciting stuff. Now, the question is right now, where are we going next for Bitcoin and the altcoins? Well, that's a good question. Right now, as we look at the Bitcoin chart, we can obviously see this chart pattern. From a fundamental standpoint, we know, and I told you earlier on, that this pattern has around a 60 to 65% chance of breaking lower. It doesn't have to break lower here. It could go up and then break lower, but ultimately 60 to 65% chance of breaking lower. Now, that obviously also means that it has around a 35 to 40% chance of breaking higher. Now you're starting to understand why just using charts alone isn't really that reliable, and there are so many other things that we should be paying attention to rather than just purely the chart patterns. But I do think really what we can be expecting, given all the sentiment, given what's happening in the market, is if we do see that calming down in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz reopened, this is obviously going to send Bitcoin pushing very much higher. Why? Because over the past few weeks, whilst everyone's been posturing for lower, everyone's getting more and more scared, everybody's been placing short trades, anticipating the market moving down, and that means that they have a lot of stop losses placed up above here, meaning that if Bitcoin is to push into those zones, those stop losses get flipped into buys. This will push Bitcoin up towards CME gaps around 84K level and beyond. Doesn't mean that it's going to go up in a straight line. It could take more time. Now, on the flip side, if things do worsen and we see lots of panic or some terrible black swan event happening, obviously you can see the potential for price to be moved down to this zone once more. But ultimately, that's where we've already been. It wouldn't really be a huge shock. It shouldn't be too much of a worry. It's just another kind of opportunity to accumulate. Now, we know that a lot of people have been stepping in to buy. We know already that people will begin to buy and have been buying in the zone. So there is a good chance that the sellers have already been exhausted and we won't see too much worse than this. There is obviously a chance as well we could sweep just underneath there before returning higher. But I genuinely don't see us getting in and around this zone anymore. I think those days are behind us. As you can see, while the Bitcoin price has been a little bit shaky, the actual others chart versus altcoins has been looking increasingly strong. Basically been in a downtrend since like the 2021 bull market. And this is partly because we have seen quantitative tightening in the United States, which is why we saw altcoins and things like that struggle. We obviously saw Bitcoin running pretty strongly, but altcoins in general have suffered. But now with the ISM above 50, we will start to see altcoins starting to perform better. Now you can see that altcoins basically bottomed against Bitcoin back here on the 23rd of June. We did see a dip underneath here very momentarily around that 10th of October wick. But since then, we are basically putting in these higher lows and building quite strongly. Eventually, we will break above this pattern and we will be breaking from this particular downtrend, which will look something like this. And that will lead to some good strength being shown across the altcoins. Right now, we're not seeing much volume from Bitcoin, not much going on in Bitcoin. So the altcoins will sit kind of quiet. Eventually, if Bitcoin does start to return back towards this kind of like 90 to 95K level, eventually back towards highs and things again, you are going to see the altcoins obviously waking up very aggressively. Good news, many of those altcoins have been sat at lows, giving decent opportunities to DCA and bring prices down, etc. Now, obviously, you might not be that interested in crypto right now. That's fair enough. But you're probably thinking to yourself, well, yeah, okay, crypto is not moving much. How do I go and invest or short or do various different things with things like oil and gold and silver and stocks? Because all of those are still moving around with significant volume. But I also don't want to move my money out of crypto. I want to keep that money in crypto. Well, you can simply come across to here. Now, this is Yubit. And as you can see here, you can trade all sorts of different things, from Forex to oil, to different stocks, metals like gold, silver. You can trade the stock markets and all sorts of other things. But you can also still trade and buy and sell all of the different major cryptocurrencies. Now, if you want to be able to access this, all you got to do is simply click down below and create yourself an account on Yubit for absolutely free. It's the best exchange I found that you can trade crypto on, as well as gold and all the different stocks and all the other things that you want to use. And if you use the link down below, you'll also qualify for up to a $20,000 bonus. Now, obviously, when it comes to gold, oil, stocks, and things like that, over the next few days, obviously the Easter weekend, so markets in the UK, Europe, US will all be closed and will open sometime on Tuesday. So you will have to probably wait for a few days before you want to go and trade any of those. But if you have the plan of doing it, then come across anyway, set up yourself an account so that you're ready to make some moves when the markets open on Tuesday, and we can expect to see some significant volatility, especially after the markets have been closed for a good 4 days or so. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic Easter weekend wherever you are. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Always helps me out, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.